Well, welcome back, everybody. As you can see, we're already jamming here today. And if you have not been here before, my name is Fabian. I go by Fabian Rockwell, and I occasionally dabble in the music video reviews. I don't know. It's fun to do sometimes. If you don't like talking about music, you are boring. But it might be a little nerdy that, like, some of us do enjoy to really talk about it a little bit more in greater depth. And if you've been on my channel, I'm really spotty with releasing. I'm trying to work on that. And I, amidst other projects that have to do with music, have taken time to refocus a bit. And, coming back, one of the biggest things I wanted to do this year was actually, I am making a playlist for every month, as one does. And I wanted to do something different with it because I don't know if anyone else gets the feeling of like just making a monthly playlist is very repetitive and sometimes can get a little boring. And so I wanted to challenge myself, like, really use our devices to their full extent. And now I am rambling. But point is, really making a nice poetic title for a playlist, giving it a very nice description. If anyone ever followed me when I talked about my blog, I used to write blogs about music, and I decided to shorten that because one, nobody's going to sit there and write an essay about music, I swear to God. And the other thing is, I don't know, like you feel inspired minimally or randomly, and so it was a really nice way for me to put kind of that blog, concept in the description of a playlist. So you briefly talk about music, briefly talk about life and the month, and you have a whole playlist of music to, remember your month by, whether that be moments at a grocery store with your mom, or you visited a vinyl shop and found a new track, like things like that. And I feel like they're really important. And then you're excited to actually rotate your music. You're actually excited to listen to your own music instead of just having something that's a little boring. So, this is just me though. Like, this is just how I like to make playlists now. I like to change something every year, and this I really wanted to focus on my hobby of making a playlist. And by the end of the year, I can say I made 12 really good ones, right? Where I like put my whole heart into it. So I want to talk about those. Anyways. So our first playlist is technically January. However, it is not January, and that's perfectly fine because it gives me an opportunity to revisit what I actually made, how the month felt. As you get older, just every year, like a lot of things pile onto your life, so it's just interesting to kind of reflect. And as a person who doesn't reflect often, I should do it. So, gliding a storm to reach half light. And as we talk about these playlists, it's going to kind of be like this. I will let you guys know, the playlist artists we're going to talk about. On this channel, when I would do mass, conversations in regards to music, we would do singles first, and then we would talk about albums at the end. So these, videos are going to just be kind of an overall compilation of music from the month, whether that might be a single or an album. So, gliding a storm to reach half light. I love this playlist, love this title, but haven't really listened to this music since then. So, my description of this month, they're always a little personal, and then I kind of normally vaguely mention some type of music. The first month of this year has been such a calm storm in its own right. Things started off right off the bat with complications, but also serve as obvious points to continue choosing self and working towards the best possible version of that self. When it comes to music this year, I knew I wanted to try something out of my personal norm. No capped playlists, Songs that are new to me entirely, dismissing their releases will be a part of its respected moments. I'll explain that. Filmed life, old songs with fresh and current meaning will all have their opportunities. Amongst this length difference, each month will have its own title rather than a singular word. We open with Leon Loregi's Su Majestad la Eternidad, a perfect track of calm disruption, which is what is presented amongst the playlist. This is followed by a more calm alternative that most have come to know as my more personal style, which is true, then transitions into some sad moments that describe the inner challenges. Omar Apollo describes overthought so well with personally, while making the bed, a track lingering in my brain, comes to full fruition in personal growth. Making the bed, guys, I can't. I haven't listened to that song actually. I'm recording early May here. And yeah. And it's funny that we were listening to the playlist already and Omar was playing and, he's part of this conversation already. R&B continues to prove to be a January vibe. Christian Curia's Bitter Pill is probably my favorite song this month, and Curia's sweet voice soothes over the overthought tones, while the outro carries such a smoothness between the saxophone and electric guitar. Which brings me into Khruangbin's new song, Love International, a completely instrumental track that proves some emotions can't be spoken rather than just felt. This track feels like a warm sun rising in the morning, a funny theme of this month that had many moments rise but others that set, and dancing remains a part of this story, and heavier tracks towards the end signify the heights of our emotions. The Vaccines track, Want You So Bad, encapsulates this right. Oh god, I cannot talk today. The Vaccines track, Want You So Bad, encapsulates this rising emotion of frustration and anger well and acts as the climax of this month. We do close out with Phoenix's Love Like a Sunset, an instrumental track that represents the unresolved. Just like an actual sunset that we would watch for some time, and suddenly it is gone. We cannot be certain of the future events, but we do know with every night will come a new day. So, my little descriptions are, yes, a little bit personal, and they kind of I don't know, I relate so much of things that happen in life to music and moments and things like that, that I feel like a description is really nice that kind of touches on all little subjects, but you're also getting a brief description of what you're going to experience through the playlist, kind of from start to finish. Now, this one is my shortest playlist from this year so far, and I personally liked having short playlists for quite some time. I don't know why that is, but I feel like we listen to music more than that. Yeah, it's nice to sit down and listen to an album, but man, is it nice to listen to a full playlist that somebody made for you, something that was heartfelt. It takes a lot of time and emotion. So I wanted all of mine to feel that way. I already talked about some standout tracks here. So if you guys want to check out the playlist, go for it. It's going to be linked down below. And January was nice because it's the start of a new year, so you want some of that new freshness that you kind of want to acquire with things, but you also there's still a bit of the vibe from last year, interesting enough. I feel like that might happen naturally and carry over. It hasn't been till April that I finally feel like I've reached full how I want to curate my playlists. If I say that word one more time, I'm going to kill myself. But anyways, so we can listen to Omar now. Okay, so this is a playlist. It's just going to be playing in the background, and I don't know if we can, guys. We can totally do this. But I don't know. It was from from what I'm kind of looking at, January was really a bit more of calmer, a little bit sadder, and I did compare it a lot to Sunshine. I just knew that Sunshine was kind of coming in the next few months, and if you kind of believe like me that the new year technically starts in the spring, um, I just know that like the height of that is around that time in spring, and so a lot of like the first few months really felt like. Mm, like I picture you. Yeah, I don't know. I correlated so much of the first month with sunshine and lights, and it just really helped me personally get through that particular month. Not that it was even a bad one, you know. I think everybody looks at their life and they're like, "Wow, this has been such a bad month," but it's not. Every kind of day is going to have challenges and positives. Same thing with the week, with the month. Like some periods are going to be harder than others, but that doesn't mean that there's not always a light at the end of the tunnel, so to say. So, Leon Larregui has become one of my favorite freaking artists. I don't know how that happened, but when I was on my deep dive with like alternative Spanish, I just like loved, like, fell in love with him. I was inspired enough to go through all of his records. We will talk about MGMT. There were albums that came out in this month, but Glass Beach is really good. I don't really know how I want to talk about this, y'all. It was interesting just because like certain things came through and shined through that like it was crazy. Like if anyone's like very spiritual and feels like certain things are like messages from the universe, I feel like a lot of my messages are pushed through to me with music and like sometimes lyrics that I didn't pay attention to when it came out, like months later will hit me and I'll be like, that's crazy. Like if I paid attention to this line a minute ago, like it probably would have helped me. Or it relates to me now in situations like it's kind of wild. They're not every single song, but it's sometimes they are. So I don't know why I gravitated towards listening to MGMT a little bit more this year. I think it's because I've been diving so heavily into the alternative world since I feel like it's my home. I love it. I just can't get enough of it. I'm discovering some things sound the same. I really am. But I will tell you, it is a lot of discovery to feel that way. And you guys will see the video series either before I post this or after I post this, who knows. But when it comes to like the alternative deep dives, MGMT is one of them. And I just feel like they're not pioneers, but for me growing up, they were a big name at a time when I just didn't pay enough attention to them. Like I can probably tell you any major song, but so, but yeah, I really, really, really liked them. And there's a few other alternative artists in here that are really nice. Chapel Roan, I hope I'm saying her name right. I think it's Chappelle Roan, guys. I'm gonna be honest here. Picture You was destroying me. Um, did listen to the whole album, have to grow with it. Not particularly for me, but that song Picture You like breaks me. Like that's why I had to stop playing it right now. Even Olivia Rodrigo's Making the Bed, she came out with that a minute ago. I still relate to it so much. And How Does It Make You Feel by Victoria Monet is just freaking honey to my ears, bro. And so I topped this like playlist basically starts really not abruptly, but like in a grandiose way with Leon's song Su Majestad la Eternidad. And it goes into this more relaxed, sad vibe until you get up to Victoria Monet, who brings you back to this like peace and like sunshine feeling and warmth. And then you listen to Christian Curia's Bitter Pill, which is a song that came out a few years ago. And this is what I meant by the description of the playlist as well, and just kind of the overall theme of what I want with playlists is like, if an album comes out and I love the whole thing, it's going in that playlist that month because I'm going to listen to it. And the point of that playlist is to be listened to. If I hear a song in the store and I'm like, wow, I love this, and I'm laughing with my friend or something because we're together, and that song's going to make me think of that moment, when I listen to this playlist, guess what? It's going in the playlist. And then, like, things that you hear from movies, things that are from years ago, like, it doesn't have to be this decade, it doesn't have to be current, like, just, that's the point of music and discovery, and, like, we're at a point in our technological advancement that, like, we have the freaking resources to go and find almost any song you want to hear. So, when people say, like, oh, this was a bad year for music, no, it wasn't. It was a bad year for your taste in music, okay? Because if you put that energy and effort, and I mean, like, I'm crazy, like, right, I'm a music nerd, and I'm not consistent with how I do this, that's the point. But, like anything, like a playlist is not supposed to be just one set thing. So mix it up, give it some variety, and you'll love it. And then watch your music taste grow as well. But we need to talk about Bitter Pill entirely. Like it was mentioned, that song is just, I mean, it came out years ago, but it's so perfect. I love that man's voice. I love the instrumentation on that, and that outro is just insane. And then Krongman's A Love International, that song is unbelievable. After that, it kind of gets into a little bit more of an upbeat vibe, and then heads back into a more gritty, like, alternative sound, but, like, not a bad one either. And it ends with a phoenix instrumentation that says, like, a sunset. So I liked this feeling of, like, the sun was rising, you're going through these, moments, and then you end with a sunset. Like, fucking how beautiful is that? Tell me. And Gliding a Storm to Reach Half-Light, I came up with this poem title for the playlist because it's how it feels. Sometimes in life it just feels like you're literally, floating, and you have to, like, navigate, like, through a fucking lightning storm, and at the end of it is Half-Light. So it's basically like, if you go through all this struggle, you at least still make it to see the sunset, which is something really beautiful. But yeah. So there were no specific singles that came out this month that were, like, stand out-ish, but there were tracks that were stand out-ish for me as far as this month went. Some of them are in albums. As far as non-album singles that were really stand out-ish in the month, in our gliding poetry playlist, really was How Do You Make Me Feel by Victoria Monet. I was, that album came out a few months ago, but it was really surprising how much it was impacting me this late, like, from when it came out. I just love it, and I didn't connect with it when I first heard that song. It was beautiful, don't get me wrong, but, like, man, did it struck me. Same thing with Bitter Pill, which is what we're listening to now. So sweet. A Love International was also a standout track, and then the Vaccines, they came out with an album in January, which I did listen to and we'll talk about in a sec, but in, like, the discovery, like, of my energy, I went to go listen to some more of their singles because just hear me reflecting a little bit. I used to work with a coworker who showed me this song, and I have, like, 2 of their, like, random ass songs because of my coworker. And so I don't know what gravitated me to even want to listen. I just think that, like, I don't know, it doesn't matter. I was deep diving, and this song, Want You So Bad, from one of their records, English Graffiti, just, you guys, like, and I'm talking about like outshining a song, just outshining a whole record to me. Like, I'm gonna be straight up with you. Um, and Circle Waves Never Going Under was a very fun alternative song that I liked, and that one struck me because I just was like, oh my god, this cover is so beautiful. It's so cool. And yeah, Phoenix's Love Like a Sunset also was another one of those singles that like really stood out to me, and it's because like I went through MGMT's first album, and then I went through Phoenix's first album, and surprisingly enough, I don't know what it is about Phoenix. I don't know if the voice feels off for me or what, but I just loved the instrumentation track on Love Like a Sunset. But a lot of other things I just, there aren't there for me, unfortunately. Okay, let's talk about some albums here, guys. A few albums came out in the fun little month of January. Okay. A few months ago, when I was onsetting this feeling, I came across, I don't know, I just for some reason was like, why am I not like exploring album covers that are pretty? Like, when you have like, you go through your feed and you're like, these colors don't match, like, and you need to delete something and then re-add it so like it starts to organize itself. Well, I was like, what if we just found things that all had really nice covers? And I came across a band named New Dad. They're not a US band, but who gives a fuck? Okay, because majority of US bands don't know how to make music the way other countries' bands know how to make. Kelly Ritchie's not right now. So they came out with an album named Madra. And the point of this story is that I fell in love with their album cover. I still think this is one of my favorite album covers I've seen this year. And I discovered them last year, a few months ago, because they were putting out their rollout. And they do have some nice singles, and I think an EP that I haven't just like fully gone through, because I wanted to just enjoy the record that they were coming out with. And so I was like, right, I'm going to listen to these songs. I just so happen to really like them. I was like, wow. And then I was inspired enough to be like, I'm going to come back to this when their album drops. And sure enough, that's what I did. Their album came out in January, and so far it's one of the best alternative albums I've heard this year, and it is a female-led band. There's also a female instrument artist. I don't, off the top of my head, know what instrument she plays exactly. But yeah, it's cool. It's two girls, two guys, and man, they're sick. Like, their album is hit after hit. Not everything for it was me, but that was one hell of a cohesive album. And like, just, I don't know. It's there, actually. It's there. So I would recommend that album. Loved it. I also, in January, listened to same kind of story. I fell in love with their album cover and had heard a few songs months beforehand, but Glass Beach. And I discovered that they only have one other album, and so it's really fun to find artists that, don't have too much music out. Like, you're finding them very early in their career, sort of. And same thing. I do think I liked the Madra album better. Glass Beach is a bit more indie rock, kind of more bedroom-ish vibe. But man, their singles that came out were something else. And then the rest of the project I did listen to, and there were so many things that I enjoyed. But they have a lot of very disruptive moments in the album that I can see a lot of people really enjoying and liking. Especially when you think about like hyperpop, how like distorted and disrupted that is. There's like elements of a version of that, but for alternative music, and I feel like there's sprinkled here in this record. So it's an album I want to revisit at some point at the end of my exploring, and just to see like what I have grown as a listener to kind of enjoy. And I did save a couple of their tracks from that record. So I would highly recommend it. Gorgeous album cover. Like, I love it. It's so artistic. It's beautiful. It's like a butterfly or a moth or something. I don't know. Like, it's tattoo worthy even. But yeah. So Glass Beach, guys. I would check them out if I were you. And the Vaccines, as promised, were another one of those bands that I gravitated towards just to listen to because I already knew them, and I said, let me support their new project. And usually when that happens, then I might have the inspiration and energy to be like, I love this sound right now. Let me hear the rest of what you have, and then I'll do that. And I did save a good 4 tracks from their new record. What I liked, I really, really liked. From the things that I've heard the Vaccines make, the like few things, I think I was expecting a bit more variation within their record. But it was a very cohesive one. And I just think it was a bit lighter than what I was looking for at the time. I don't think it was anything personal to like... Sorry. I don't think it was anything personal to the band. Like, great, y'all made a great album. It isn't my preferred favorite of the month. And yeah, I think I was just looking for something a little bit harder. And it's hard to sometimes balance different sounds all at once. But I will also revisit their record at some point. But yeah. And then if you just don't connect with it, guys, you just do not connect with it. In January, I also connected with this album called Apoptosis. Interesting name, right? And it's by this band Inner Wave, which I have already had some singles from, so I was on a dive, actually, when I listened to this album. So this was like a dive album. And I went through their whole thing, and I just found so many songs in that record. It didn't come out this year, but it came out in 2021. So good. So freaking good. But I do want to say that that is actually the kind of last album in January that I really explored. I'm lying. I'm really lying. The biggest thing in January, guys, is that Kali Uchis came out with Orquídeas. And for the first album of the year to come out, like, this was really fun to hear. And she also made this album for the girls and the gays only. So if, you know, you didn't get it, you didn't get it. I know the debate is up there for, like, the last record, Red Moon and Venus or Orquídeas. And I just do think they were meant to be 2 separate projects. I almost wish there was a little bit more time between them. Just because I really like projects, especially with beautiful concepts, to have a longer period of time. And I do think Red Moon and Venus deserved a little bit better of an era by Miss Kali. Photo shoots, concept, everything was there. Videos gorgeous, like, not saying any of that. But I just think, like, the cohesion with, like, tour, having, like, a really nice set list from the album, you know, very elements inspired by, like, these flowers and things, which they were there, they were subtle. But just, like, the length of time, you know, like, I just feel like Red Moon and that concept was so beautiful and stunning that it just deserved a longer period of time. Love Orquídeas as well, orchids. And I think I actually like it a lot more than most people that I talk to, because I feel like everybody's really disappointed in this record. I think they maybe thought it was going to be more of a sister record, and I think they are. But I don't know. I feel like on first listen, I personally enjoyed this second record a bit more than I did Red Moon first listen. I'm going to be honest, this is just me going off of, like, how I feel after, like, 2 or 3 listens of that album. I almost don't remember all of the songs because I haven't done my good job in supporting this record either fully. And it's just that I have a hard disconnect with, like, being able to listen to pop music right now versus like the alternative like spiral that I've been in. And as we continue, you guys will see I have like strayed away from that and I have learned to blend things a lot better. But I think at this time it was just really hard for me to like figure out how to incorporate that really well. Um, and I do want it and deserve to have my moment. So I always like to go back towards the end of the year to re-listen to things and just see the difference. And usually then you will find something that you were like, wow, I really like this album. So I'm going to stop talking now, though, because I feel like that was a massive ramble. If it makes anybody feel any better, there are like 14 tracks on that album, and I saved 12. So I do think that was probably my favorite album that was released that month. But like emotionally, like with Weight was New Dad's record, Madra. And go check it out. Beautiful cover by everybody on this list, actually. And I don't know, if you like these videos, let me know. I always have a really hard time of like how to organize my stuff, but I just like want to go with it at this point. And I don't know. I'm really excited about these playlists, like just as a project on its own. And I'm excited to just talk about music that's come out in the month and the albums that have come out in the month as well. So let me know how you like these, what you think of like it being kind of collectively unified with, you know, my monthly playlist as well. Because I'm more than just happy to honestly talk about the music. I think this was a fun little start for me, but I definitely hope to get a little bit better with like how the organization of these kind of go. But yeah, so let me know your guys' thoughts. But anyways, hope everyone has a good day. Until next time.